And today's topic is how do you say no? And not just say no, but own your no. And this is actually Throw It Out There Thursday topic time. So I asked for some input and I got a few notes privately, and I also got a couple comments. And so Tracy said saying no without apologies. Okay. And then Greg had suggested getting out of your own ways, setting boundaries, etc. And I thought, well, you know what? This is perfect because in order to set boundaries, we need to learn to say no. So I'm just picking saying no. How's that? All right. Awesome to have everybody here. Did I put lipstick up here? Well, you know what? Sometimes you just put a little lip gloss on and it gets all over the place. No judgment zone. That's what we're aiming for here on the Lockdown Lift Up. Come as you are, come as you will. And I hope it gives you a little bit of insight and motivation. So, hi, Ramon. Awesome to have you here with us. Have you here with me anyway. And I don't know who else is there. So hopefully they'll put something in the comments and I'll get to see that. But we're going to talk about saying no. So I have actually done a few pieces of the puzzle on this. So hopefully I can remember, but just before I came on air, I actually remembered I had a whole chapter in my book, How to Be Resilient When Life Sucks, on actually how to say no. And so I thought I might pull a little bit from that and just some other quick ideas on this topic. Now, you may be somebody who is like, you got it going on. You'll say no whenever you want to say no. In fact, you may be somebody who I need to encourage to say yes. You know, those people who just, no, I'm not going to do it. No. And that's totally fine, right? That's how you set boundaries, great. Sometimes though, if we say no too much, we don't actually end up stretching ourselves or having new experiences or meeting new people. So it is great to say yes sometimes. But if you're someone who says yes all the time and you wish you were saying no, then this is the Lockdown Lift Up for you. Greg, hi, welcome. So this is the beginning of how to set boundaries. So we'll do that. I meant to do that this week. I think you'd actually said it last week. So I've written it down. Ironically, though, I wrote it down last week, but I forgot where I wrote down the topics. So we'll just go with it. It's been a bit of a crazy time lately, in fairness. It's been quite the experience. So saying no. The first way that we can say no is to understand when we're supposed to say yes. So often people don't have clearly, oh, yes, I know. It's my alarm that says I'm supposed to be here. Let me turn off that phone. Okay, so we need to know when we're going to say yes. And I think so often people say no because they don't actually have their boundaries or priorities in place to actually know when it's time to say yes versus no. And so if you step back, if you're someone who's constantly saying yes and then regretting it afterwards, I'd love you to just sit back, look at the last month or so, or maybe longer, maybe 3 months, and really look at maybe your calendar or your journal or your just even thinking about some of the experiences you've had, and actually look at when did you say yes and you wished you said no. And then the next step in that is sit down and create some boundaries. So there'll be a pattern in there. So perhaps it's certain people who you always say yes to, or it's certain circumstances that you say yes to. And as a matter of fact, I have noticed a new pattern for myself where I'm going to be deploying these exact tactics. And this is a situation where I've just like, oh, why does that never feel right? Why, when I get into that circumstance, does it feel off in my gut? And honestly, I've just been kind of going along, like I've been in business 14 and a half years, and this has been a repeating pattern, but I never actually gave it enough thought to think, why does that not feel right? And then what is the pattern, and why am I getting caught up in saying yes when I probably just should have said no? Not probably. I wish I said no. And when something happens more than once or several times, right, it's a pattern. And at first you may not even notice it. And that's why I want you to look back the last month or 3 months, or maybe even longer in your life, and find those patterns of where you're saying yes. Because without seeing the patterns, you actually can't change the pattern. And who is it? There's, Sugar Plum. I forget who it was. I heard it from Carl Bahir, I think it is, who says, and now I might be misquoting the wrong person, but essentially, if it's a pattern that you don't know you have, it is a habit. Oh gosh, don't bring things up off the top of your head, Allie. Well, let me think. It's a habit. If we know that it's happening and we do it again, it's a choice. Okay, so I need you to recognize what are the patterns that you're not even realizing that you're saying yes, so that we can change it, just like the exercise that I'm going to go through. Then we want to go, okay, there's the pattern. What are the boundaries that are going to be my guideposts for next time I will say yes from a perspective of I actually want to, as opposed to just getting caught up in the momentum and realizing that it's not the way it's supposed to be, like, right, and then getting caught. So that is really good, because now if you have boundaries or you have rules in place, or even your values in place, and we've talked about values in other lockdown lift ups, then you can make decisions. You can test when you're in the middle of something and you're getting sucked into saying yes. You can go, wait a second, let me go through my critical thinking checklist. Let me go through my boundaries that I've set and see if this is a situation where I should say yes or should say no. Now, the next piece that can really bother someone to say no and keep them from saying no is the concept of whose voice is it? Like, why are you actually saying yes? Whose voice is it? Is it a parent? Is it your guilt voice? Is there, that internal messenger bullshit that, I often will talk about? I think that if you can understand the voice and the guilt that is coming from saying no, we got to unpack that. Because if you're feeling like obligated, and actually there's a really, really incredible book by Gretchen Rubin. And she talks about the four tendencies. And one of them, I don't remember the others. Well, I probably could think about them, but the one I identified was so clearly, I will never forget it. And it's the tendency of being an obliger. Now, an obliger, when somebody asks them to do something, they will drop everything and they will get it done. And I am so much at my core an obliger. I've had friends call me at 12 o'clock at night and say, hey, I need a proposal done for tomorrow morning. And I'm getting out of bed to go and help them write a proposal when I'm exhausted and have to sleep, right? And that is the obliger in me. So here's the thing with the obliger. We will give and we will give and we will give and we will give. And then we hit this magic little breaking point where we will give no longer. And we tend to go like, no, right? And get really just like bent out of shape with it. And then we kind of cool off and then we go back to obliging again. And so the pattern repeats until we're so frustrated. And then we cool off and we go back into old patterns. And so I've worked really hard to change this over the years. Greg's got a comment here. Let's see what Greg has to say. A game plan checklist will offer an objective perspective to provide clarity for decision making. Yes. Something that is hard to do when overwhelmed. Not speaking from experience, of course. Yeah, that's a real laugh. I get it. And this is it, right? We want to have our path because it's not hard to do, like follow our path when everything's good and when we're just like kind of going along. It's like you said the word overwhelmed. When we're overwhelmed or when we're caught up in the momentum of something or we're not really present in the moment and somebody says, hey, can you do this? And you're like, yeah, sure. And you don't even think about the consequences. So that's where that pattern interrupt is so important. And as an obliger, you may be so used to just saying yes, right? That it is, it can be really interesting to not even recognize that you're saying yes when you wish you would have said no until you're in the middle of it and then you're annoyed. Yes, it is. It totally to do with boundaries. And setting those frameworks is really great. So understand why you're obliging. If you're an obliger, and I'm going to guess if you need to own your no, you're probably an obliger too. And by the way, I'm going to really recommend you read her book. Again, Gretchen Rubin's The Happiness Trap, I think. So whose voice is it? Is it your voice? Is it something that ethically, because there's a difference between I have to do it and I don't want to, and it's still the right thing to do, versus I'm doing it because I don't really want to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, we got to decipher when we're saying no versus not. So maybe you're caring for somebody in your family and you're just like, I don't want to go get you another, XYZ and deliver it from the store or something, right? But you do it because they don't have anybody else and you feel obligated, and yet it's the right thing to do. So you're going to do it, but then we don't want to begrudge it. But here's the thing. If we say yes and we wish we said no, two things can happen. Number one, you can change your mind. You can go back and go, you know what? Upon further reflection, I can't do this. Like, totally okay to change your mind and to show that. So that's an option. But if you get to a point where you're in it and you don't want to be doing it, you gotta suck it up and remove all of the misplaced emotion and frustration and regret and anger and whatever might be going along with, oh my God, I said yes again. And show up and do your absolute best with as little fanfare as humanly possible. So if we go in, we gotta ride the storm, as we say. So I think that is important. Now, in my book, the How to Be Resilient When Life Sucks book. Okay, that's the busy badge of honor. Paste this. Owning Your No, chapter 38. Okay, I actually had a formula because I do that. This is what I do. I break down ideas. I observe things. And I found the most politically correct way that I've ever found to say no. And here it is. Compliment. Put the onus on you. Reaffirm your decision, and thank them. So this really grew out of, so what I've written here, actually, I'll just read a little bit. The key to saying no is to do so succinctly. Never justify your decisions. Giving excuses just adds to the guilt. A simple, wow, thanks so much for the invitation, but unfortunately, I'm not available, is plenty of explanation. Try it and see how it feels. Don't overplay your disappointment or turning them down, or they'll keep asking. God, where do I write this stuff from? I don't know. But it's true. Like, I used to do that. I'd be like, especially when my pain was so high, like, last thing I wanted to do was go out on a Friday night, right? And I would cancel on friends. So then I just decided, stop canceling, just say no. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, do I wish I could go? I'd love to spend time with you, blah, 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 blah. And then they go, oh, well, we won't do it this Friday night. We'll do it next Friday night. And I'd be like, yeah, I'm not available then either. And then next Friday night and next Friday. But if I would have just said, look, I can't do it right from the very beginning, it would have been so much easier. So I think that's where that little note card came from. But let's play this out. And by the way, you can just say no. Full sentence, put a period at the end of it, walk away, all good. For someone like me, who is an obliger, who is, very much like, I don't want to hurt other people's feelings if I can help it, I needed a little bit more of a framework. So that's where this little framework came from. So compliment them. And what I've written here is, I really appreciate how committed you are to the cause. The charity is lucky to have you. So I used to get a lot of requests for charitable, like, can you come and help us fundraise? Can you do whatever? So, normally it's another volunteer calling me. So I'm going to compliment them on their taste, or what an incredible charity, doing such incredible work. And then the next thing is put the onus on me. So knowing everything I have on my plate, I can't take on another responsibility / event / activity / anything. I wouldn't do it justice, or I wouldn't be able to participate or enjoy it at the level that you would really want. Okay, so taking the bonus on you, and then reaffirm the decision. Because sometimes if we sandwich things together, like the good stuff, the negative with the good, what'll happen is some people just filter out and only listen to the bread, and they miss the meat where you actually said no. So I used to say, hey, thanks so much. Oh my gosh, what an incredible charity. I really can't do this right now. I just got so much on my plate. And that was happening a lot, right? And they go, oh, well, that's all right. Listen, it's only going to be a little bit, whatever. So then I realized you can't be all soft with it. You have to state. And then I've written here, reaffirm. So I need to decline the opportunity. Thanks again for thinking of me. It really means a lot coming from you. I am not available. Done. So there's my little framework. That's the kind of stuff that's in this book. Gosh, I really got to go through and edit it because a few things have changed. And, I might change the title and just do the how to be resilient when life sucked, because some people didn't get the married my mom birthed a dog. But, there's so many gems in this book. It's so fun. Well, and I'm just bringing it all back up and reading it these days because we're on air. Normally it just sits underneath the coffee table. But that's it. So I still use that to that day. I forgot I put it into an actual formula, but that's what I do. But we'll say, so it's compliment them, right? What an incredible cause. So glad you're doing the work that you're doing. Everything I have on my plate right now, or my health challenges, or what's going on with my mom, or whatever, right? You don't have to put an excuse in, by the way, and you don't have to tell them. None of this is required. It's just if you want to soften the blow and it's somebody who you respect, who's asking you to do something, and you want to make it a bigger conversation. And, I know people say no is okay, but I got to tell you, I was on a committee and I asked somebody who I had a lot of respect for, and I said, hey, listen, I'd love for you to be a part of this. Can you, I forget what it was. It doesn't even matter. And her response was no. And that was it. No, thanks for asking. No, anything. And I got to tell you, on the receiving end of just a no, when you already have a relationship with someone in the professional environment and you're doing something that's a volunteer opportunity, so you're giving of yourself, it does not feel very good. And it actually can break down the trust, and it can break down the grace. I was talking yesterday about spread kindness. And somebody shared it out and said, stop spreading bitchery. So that's going to be one of my new lines. Stop spreading bitchery, spread kindness. And I think that how we say no to somebody, because it takes a lot of courage for somebody to reach out and say, hey, will you get involved with this? Or I have this idea. I'd like to be some of you to be a part of it. Or I've written a book. Can you, that was what it was. I said, listen, I've got a draft on my book done. I think it was when I was writing this one. I wonder if you could just give it a couple chapters, specifically a once over, and, I'd really like your opinion. And she wrote me back and said no. And I was like, okay, that's all right. Yeah. And without a reason provided for the no, you were left wondering. I agree, Lauren. And we don't have to try to make everybody else feel good about it, but I think we can be tactful and we can be kind when somebody has stepped up to say, hey, I am interested in, including you in this. And now we don't have to make excuses and we don't have to apologize. You notice that nowhere in this script did it say apologize for saying no. It actually says to reaffirm and thank them and be clear about not saying yes. It was good. There would have been a point I would have apologized. Lauren, I realize when I look down that may not make my verbal cues. I think you're still using captioning, live captioning on Google Chrome, which I think is fantastic. But I recognize that if I look down, you can't see my lips. Is that right? Yeah. Oh, she's still on the other topic. It comes 15 seconds late for me. But your reason also has to be authentic. Nothing worse than getting, no, I don't have the bandwidth right now. And you know what? Your bandwidth truly may be the reason. Right now, I don't have bandwidth for anything. Unless it's a paid client gig, I've got no bandwidth. And I've just recognized that with myself. And so I might even say that. I might say that. I don't know. It depends who it is and how much explanation I feel I need to give. Yeah. So you are using the captions, which is great, and no worries, but thank you for your sensitivity. Well, you're welcome. I really want my work to be accessible for everyone that it can be. So I'm excited for the work you're doing to advocate for accessibility. And for those who don't know, Lauren is a very highly accomplished, I think you're a lawyer, aren't you? I know, a professional and advocate, and is hearing impaired. So we've had conversations over the years about making things. I think she was the very first person who ever asked me if my book was available on audio. And guess what, folks? The new book will be available on audio. Okay. If I say no, I try to offer value by suggesting someone else and wishing the person well. Love it. So I think this is a great idea. If you legitimately and authentically have someone in mind who might be a really great choice. This can backfire if you choose somebody, or if you say, here, let me try to find you someone else. And then you put it on your list, and then you're regretting that you said, I can do that. Right? Like that can, yeah, I was right. A human rights lawyer. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad to have you with us. So yes, what were we just talking about? Gosh, I'm tired these days, right, folks? But that's all right. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for being with me in all of this. And I think our no that okay, I'm just looking at my notes. Compliment, onus on you, reaffirm, thanks. Anyway. So you don't have to give people a big explanation, but I think just saying no, as much as it's a full sentence, can be a little rude. I don't like it. I don't like getting it, but I mean, I also don't like anybody telling me no, because I'm, a very good advocate for the things I want. I mean, when I was younger, people might have called me bossy. Now I'm just relentless and perseverance and have the grit. The backfire. I only refer someone with no promises. Yes. Because you could be opening up a can of worms trying to say, oh, but you know what? I can't be a part of your committee, but maybe I can find somebody who would. And then you're looking and searching for who would want to be part of the committee. And you've taken on a responsibility that technically is not your responsibility. So one thing I might do if I wanted to manage my to-do list, which of course I refer to often as a task circle, because it just keeps going round and round, is I would, if I thought of somebody in that moment, I would say, you know what, what have you thought about this person? And then leave the onus on them to figure it out and say, listen, I can maybe do an introduction, which is like one line in an email to connect you, but really, why don't you reach out to them and let me know that we were talking, and it might be a possibility. By taking it on, you are defeating the reason for your no in the first place. Yes, that is what ends up happening. And I've done that so often, and it always tends to backfire, at least in my experience. All right, I'm going to go over here to Facebook. Just want to get some shout outs. Oh, and then here. I think we're coming to the end of. There we are. Okay. I don't know how to get the Facebook. It's not showing up right now. Maybe if I refresh. I just wanted to see if there were any comments that I needed to add in right now. Oh, no, just a bunch of likes and loves. So thank you to everyone who is listening on Facebook. And I hope that you own your no. I hope you're like, yeah, I got it. So there's no reason to feel guilty. And if you are feeling guilty, you got to explore where the guilt is coming from. Whose voice is it who says, I got to say yes, even when I don't want to say yes? Oh, I won't tell you to hush, Lauren. It's hard when every comment shows up on your screen. I should filter them, right? Well, I love the conversation. This is what it's about, right? And I also recognize I am the platform to offer some insight and get started on the thinking. And other people have other ideas that I want to share with those who are listening, because it's not just all me on these ideas. So I am grateful for you being here, Lauren. So thank you very much. All right. Although it's 25 minutes. Wow, did that go fast today? Whew. Did it ever? Great topic, Tracy Weir. Thank you very much for putting it in. Greg, I hope that helped you with the idea around boundaries. And to everyone here today, I really hope that you have an incredible, beautiful day for the rest of the day. Sun's shining. I'm going to go for a little walk with my dog. I really, for funsies though, let's be honest, this needs to come to this side, doesn't it? Permanently. And then you can always see Winston. And if you notice, he jumps up right when I start. That's awesome. Okay, well, have an amazing day. And I will see you tomorrow for the Wild Card Topic Friday at 3:15 p.m. Eastern Time Zone. And I will pull from one of my books. I'll just do the fan like I did last week. And that's how we'll choose our topics. Apparently the lockdown is getting extended, but I don't know. We'll have to figure out when. Actually, I don't want to start rumors. I'm hearing rumors, so I don't want to start rumors or spread them. But we may have to keep locking down and lifting ourselves up. We'll see. Okay. Have the best day.